Hey guys, it's Savannah. Today we're going to be discussing mixing private and public spaces. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the problems of mixing private conversation in a public space. So to review from our last vlog, private spaces are spaces like your home or apartment, family members' homes, or social clubs of interest. Your public spaces are going to be like your workplace, coffee shops, and movie theaters. So to discuss this, we have a case study we're going to look at. This case study is a good example of what can happen when private conversations are introduced in a public space. In this study, we see these conversations entering the workplace. The study takes place in a small office of about 13 employees. We have Tina and Stacy that work together, and they just happen to be sister-in-laws. So Tina is married to Stacy's brother, and Tina has decided to cheat on her husband. These private issues are being introduced into the office by Stacy because she's mad for her brother. These conversations are spread through rumors, hateful tones while speaking at work, and getting everyone involved with their home or private issues. This has caused the energy of the whole office to change, and it's caused people talking about the private situations where it has actually decreased productivity. So to look further into this study, we use our book, The Communication Ethics, Literacy, Dialogue, and Difference. It was also used along with the article named Workplace Bullying and the Challenge of Pre-Motive Management. So our first quote is, "Public life forced upon the private and public life forced upon the public are both fundamental communication violations." So meaning both of those spaces should not be mixed. So what happens in your public space and what happens in your private space should not be intertwined. So our second quote is, "If everyone knows the private information, then the friendship is no longer defined by unique knowledge of one another." This quote is really important to our study because other employees stopped viewing Tina as a coworker and saw her as the cheater of the office. Our third quote is, "Unchecked mistreatment has a ripple effect, radiating negative result beyond victims to witness, bystanders, colleagues." Excuse me. This one's important because not only did Stacy start stuff about Tina, everyone in the office got involved, which made the situation worse, causing a ripple effect of negativity in the setting, every setting that Tina was a part of. So her private and public space was now the same situation. She was hearing it all day long, and she was getting really depressed in her own job as well. So it was affecting others, but it was also affecting her really bad. So our fourth quote is, "Phrases like 'this company is family' and 'we're all friends here' and the need to know information about another that is unnecessary for a job or task are simply commonplace." So this one, you just have to understand that having a professional relationship is okay. We don't need to know everything that everyone does. So in this case, we don't need to know what Tina does on her weekend. She comes in, she gets her job done, and that's what we need to see in this public space. So recommendations that I have for this, they need to define their own personal spaces, meaning they need to look at their everyday life, define, okay, is home public or private? It's private. When I come to work, am I wanting my private stuff in this public space, or do I want it strictly public? So they really need to define their spaces, understand what they want in each space. That way when they come into that space, they can cut everything off, and really set a boundary for each space. So another recommendation that I had, management should step in and have dignity at work. So this was basically, they need to have steps that they take, that way it doesn't get out of control. So in our case study, we see productivity going down. Everyone in the office is getting really off focus. So something needs to be done so we can keep that dignity and be able to work towards our common good of the office. So number 3 is negotiation. That needs to be between Tina and Stacy. They need to understand that they're in these spaces together, both private and public, and they need to flip that switch when they're in those different spaces. Not everyone needs to know what's going on. No one needs to know what's happening in each space. They need to have that boundary and that conversation with each other about that. Implications. So if this doesn't continue, or if it keeps continuing, it's going to continue employee distractions. It's going to keep taking everyone's productivity down. Everyone's going to be focused on what the latest rumor is, what's going on, what's being posted on Facebook, and it's taking everyone away from their computers in the office. So we need to make sure that that's gone. All conversations are gone so we can take away that distraction. Like I just discussed, the decrease production. We need to make sure people are on computers, not talking about Facebook, not talking about each other, or it's just going to keep happening, and the business is actually going to struggle from it. And then we're also going to see no longer seen as an employee, but defined by the drama. She needs to be seen as an employee. If this doesn't stop, everyone's going to be still seeing her as the cheater of the office. When people look at her, everyone can be civil with each other, but once you have that private conversation within that public space, everyone's looking at her different. No one's seeing her as an employee. No one's seeing how many cases she's getting during the day. They're seeing that she cheated on her husband, which is really sad for her. So, in conclusion, public and private spaces should always be separate. They should not be intertwined. Mixing these spaces can cause problem with the parties involved and everyone else around them. Also, understanding the spaces and setting limits cause can cause like the decrease in mixing trouble. So, mixing the spaces, it's going to cause less problems if we define those spaces. So for further research, we're going to start with management. This needs to be researched by the manager, so when these situations happen, they know how to get involved, and they can go ahead and get ahead of the problem so this doesn't happen again for them. Because like I said, productivity is going down. They're making less money because of this, so they need to get ahead of it before this happens. And also, the happiness of their employees is very important as well. So employees involved, they also need to do some research. This would be, Tina and Stacy. They should research their spaces and understand what they want in each space so those spaces are not mixed. When it comes to researchers, it was really hard to find information on private conversations that started problems in a workplace. So I think that needs to be studied more because I think productivity and hurting businesses is it's very important to see. So understanding that so the managers and the parties involved can look deeper into that. So that would be showing the full effects of productivity and negative thoughts of the workplace. So does it ruin everyone's view of their job too in those situations, which is very important. And these are my resources, so our book and my article. So I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I hope y'all learned something from this. That way, in your workplace, if you see this happening, maybe you can kind of understand it and not get involved, or maybe suggest some things behind doors to a manager or something that something should be done. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope everyone's safe right now. Bye.